Guys, how's it going? Before I begin, I just want to tell you a little bit about my tax-free saving account. So I finally called up I already called up the government and asked them about my tax-free saving account. I asked tough questions like, can I day trade on my tax-free saving account? Or what happens if I make $1 million on my tax-free saving account? The response was, as long as you don't over contribute on your tax-free saving account, you can do basically anything. And then there's also a restriction where you cannot pull money out and put money back in consistently. So like, you have to be careful about contributing and withdrawing and putting money back into the account. But everything on a tax-free saving account is possible. You can do anything on a tax-free saving account. If you manage to make, $10,000 into $1 million, that $1 million is completely tax-free. I mean, it's not possible, but anything's possible, because I turned like $28,000 into $360,000. So I mean, anything is possible in the stock market, but I'm just saying that you can do anything on a tax-free saving account, and nothing can go wrong unless you over contribute to your tax-free saving account. Then they'll ding you. But besides that, they won't ding you, because I phoned and I asked, and I just wanted to make 100% sure. But you never know, it's the government. They can come around and they can say, oh, that's not right, or that's not true, or what you're doing is illegal, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. So, it's the government. They can do whatever they want, but I confirm with the government, Canadian Revenue Agency, if the tax-free saving account is, you can just basically do anything and basically have it tax-free, and they say yes. So yeah, and anyways, told you guys I would make an AMD video if I had more than 100 likes. In less than 24 hours, I had 107 likes. Obviously, people really want to know what AMD is, because that's a lot of likes. I mean, so, and it was pretty fast too. So like I said, if I got 100 likes, I'll make a dedicated video on AMD, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to start off with this video because this video is very important to my explanation of why AMD could go to $30. Let's begin.
The chip maker has more than doubled since the draft, and look at its 2018 performance. Shares are up 126% compared to the S&P 500's 7% gain. Our next guest thinks AMD's got more room to run. Hans Mosesman, managing director at Rosenblatt Securities, just raised its price target to $30 a share. That's the highest on the street, by the way, and 30% higher from where it is trading today. Hans, thanks so much for joining us.
You got it. Thank you.
You met with management, and you think that AMD is gaining share. And so before we get to how AMD is gaining share, I'm just wondering, who is it gaining share from?
Well, primarily it's going to be Intel, and we're at the very, very early stages of a multi-year market share gaining dynamic, similar to what AMD enjoyed back in 2006 when they gained 25% of the enterprise market. I think they have 1% of the market today. They'll probably get that 25% and then some over the next several years.
So what are the advantages of the AMD over Intel at this point in your view? And how sticky is that newly gained customer?
It's very sticky, and it comes down to Lisa Su, the CEO, that hatched a plan back in 2012 that took 4 to 6 years to hit, and it's starting to pay off. They have a better processor. They're engaged with all the hyperscale players today, and they will over the next several years. And they're taking advantage of what appears to be a glitch in Intel's roadmap, not only from a microprocessor architecture perspective, but from a manufacturing perspective.
Is this a permanent setback for Intel in your view, or does it have gains in other businesses that can help offset the loss to AMD?
It's going to be very tough. Intel is trying to go after non-CPU related technologies or adjacencies, but make no mistake, Intel is going to have to fix this, and it will take many, many, many years. Their process technology disadvantage, which I think is broken, will take 5, 6, 7 years.
Confused about process technology. Process technology is the way you make the CPU and the GPU. So right now in the market, TSMC is the #1 company for process technology. So it's not really AMD versus Intel right now. It's TSMC versus Intel. And since Intel cannot beat TSMC when it comes to process technology, because TSMC is the king right now in the process technology in the market, and AMD has a really great architecture with the Zen, and they really improved it with Zen 2, and they're gonna be using TSMC to create server products and Zen 2, Ryzen 2 products next year when it comes out. And my suspicion is, since 7 nanometer is energy efficient and a lot smaller than 14 nanometer, like half the size, they might be able to fit 2 chips onto a CPU, like a single CPU, in one of those packages, creating next year possibility of having consumer grade 16 cores, like 32 thread CPUs at the same price as you would get with an i9 or an i7, like $300 and it could fit in the AM4 socket. If AMD does that, they would dominate. They would literally, like, a lot of people would buy that new product, and then the server side will destroy Intel, because the 7 nanometer product is going to be very compelling for servers, and right now they've already been approved by all the server process, and Intel is going to have a difficult time to catch up with TSMC. According to this guy, he says that the process technology is broken. It's going to take a few years for Intel to recover, to be able to fix that. So AMD has a little bit luck on this side, so they will be stealing a lot of server market share from Intel. And Intel makes what, $20 billion per year off of servers. So a 25% server steal would be $5 billion a year for AMD. Let's say like $3 billion a year for AMD, because they take a smaller profit than Intel. So and they reduce the cost of the CPU. So Intel now has competition on the pricing and the process technology when it comes to microprocessor versus AMD. And this guy believes that AMD will really steal market share from Intel. I guess we'll continue with the
and I don't think that business model works by them being behind and by a year or two in terms of process technology.
Talk about the AMD management. You hinted at how impressed you are with it.
Yes, I think that loud and clear. We had meetings in the Midwest and in Canada, and the #1 issue that comes up is Lisa Su going to stay? There's a tremendous amount of respect for this woman and what she has done, and something that nobody in terms of AMD's executives in the past has been able to do, and put together several years into the future, a roadmap that is very, very compelling. And so big plus for her and her job there at AMD.
So what's the answer to that question? Is she going to stay? I mean, if that's one of the top reasons why you like the stock,
I think
we want to know if she's going to be around.
Yeah, she's going to be around. She is committed. She's at the early stages of this plan. She's not motivated just by money. She's a winner, and I think that they're at the early stages of a multi-year dynamic that is probably unprecedented, at least in terms of what's happening here between AMD and Intel.
Okay, so you heard that. So if you compare, let's say, companies, right? You compare AMD with Nvidia. So Nvidia has a market cap of $168 billion, while AMD has a market cap of $28 billion. Granted, Nvidia makes, a lot of money. Like, Nvidia right now makes about $3 billion of revenue, and 1/3 of that revenue is pure profit. While AMD is making about $1.75 billion per quarter. Maybe it ranges, but since I think it's gonna keep increasing to hit, and I think eventually it will hit $3 billion of revenue with probably $500 million of profit. At least that's just my opinion. And if they hit those numbers, if they hit $3 billion of revenue with, I don't know, $500 million of profit, I say AMD could be at least a $50 billion market cap company, because they are stealing Intel's server market share. They have Zen 2 coming out, and possibility of having a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox 2 or whatever in 2019. So by this time next year, I could see at least a $50 price tag on AMD, if not higher. Okay, that was, I didn't mean to have that popped up, but too late. I misclicked. Sorry guys, whatever. I'm just gonna keep this video on anyways. So, but you know, you also have to consider the balance sheet too. Like, Nvidia has a killer balance sheet, while AMD is meh, kind of mediocre. Like, AMD has what, $3 billion in asset, what, $1 billion in cash. Nvidia has $10 billion in asset, like $1 billion in cash, but I guess they spent it in short-term investments. So they still have, if you consider both these together, they still have like $8 billion of cash, especially if they pulled out their short-term investments. What, and then they do have quite a bit of liabilities, but then again, the asset to the liability is so much better than AMD. They have an $8 million shareholder equity, or $9 billion shareholder equity, while AMD has shareholder equity is $1 billion. So so like, Nvidia's balance sheet is so much better than AMD. That's why I'm saying that AMD can be 1/3 the size of Nvidia, especially if they can increase their revenue. I mean, granted, it'll still be in the overinflated area, but stocks, like, you in the world of stock market, anything's possible. Like, look at Tilray. They are almost like the #1 comp. They're catching up to Canopy. They already surpassed Aurora, which makes absolutely no sense, but you know, it happened, so whatever. So I mean, I totally could see this stock being $50. I'm hoping it has a correction price so I can maybe buy some back in. So that's just my hope. But then again, it's risky too, because what happened if they came out with a core report and they had some problems and the stock tanks? I mean, it's always a possibility. But right now, it looks like AMD is really on the on the path of catching up to Nvidia and Intel, because of luck and the fact that Lisa Su is really good at her job. She could be known in history, the first female semiconductor CEO that brought a company from literally almost bankrupt all the way to, you know, the next big company in the next 5 years. Who knows? Like, AMD could do it. AMD has the technology, they have the IP, they have, and then if Lisa Su can steer the ship in the right direction, who knows? Maybe one day AMD could be the next Nvidia, or even surpass Nvidia, and right behind the tails of Intel. I mean, if Lisa Su managed to do that, that would be awesome. I mean, Steve Jobs did it. He took Apple, a company that was literally in the dumps, all the way to the #1 company in the entire world. So Lisa Su is, you know, doing a really good job. That this guy right here really likes her, so, and that's the reason why he's so bullish on the stock. And a CEO matters. I really believe a CEO matters. So And then the PlayStation 5 Navi is going to be AMD's next flagship GPU architecture, and they're working with Sony too. So I don't know what the deal is with Sony and AMD for the Navi GPU technology, but they are working together to build this new Navi GPU technology. So Sony's putting the R&D budget into this, and AMD, so combined they could really create a good Navi tech architecture for the PlayStation 5, and possibility of having a dual contract, having AMD also being like, I know AMD is going to be using Navi to sell to the CPU, the computer market. So if AMD and Sony can build a really good Navi architecture with basically how do you say it, like a APU, CPU and GPU combined on one chip, powering, and since it's going to be on the 7nm technology process, it's going to be extremely energy efficient. So we could possibly see very affordable high-end gaming laptops in the future. And if this came true, AMD would really take over the computer market and create value for customers, create more revenue for the company, and still be profitable because they're mass producing these chips for both Sony and their computer. So by mass producing, you can reduce the cost of the overall process a lot. But if you produce, like, it's like economics. If you produce a lot of one product, each product is a lot cheaper. It's like if you built a big greenhouse, right? A greenhouse would be a lot cheaper than like a small indoor facility, because you're producing on a mass scale versus, you know, producing in a small facility. The small facility might have much better quality products, but it can't build on a mass scale, so the cost of producing it goes up dramatically. So it's similar. It's a similar concept to how Navi works. If Navi is produced for the PlayStation 5 and computers, they can produce a lot of these units, causing the price per chip to dramatically go down. So Sony and AMD can reduce the price of the products, sell a lot more products versus having a high end product that, you know, a very little people would buy, but, you know, you generate more profit and revenue from it. It's just my theory. So I don't know if this would come true. This is just me speculating for the future, but AMD does look very promising. So I can easily see this stock being $50. I was hoping the stock goes back to, I don't know, maybe even like $1 takedown, like a $27. I highly doubt it. I mean, I'm gonna camp it. If I see a really bad day on AMD, I'm gonna jump in, and then if I'm wrong and it goes down even further, I'll buy even more, because I think I'm gonna take a small position in my AMD just so I can prove my point that I believe AMD is gonna go higher. I do really believe that AMD is gonna be 30, like they're gonna be $30 very soon here. If they already didn't hit the $30 already, but I could see the stock being $50 because stocks can run a lot higher than you think sometimes, and I'm giving it at least a $50 minimum cap by next year. If, like, I mean, it's possible for this stock to be $100 if AMD really takes Intel's market share for servers, and a lot of customers just suddenly switching from Intel to AMD. Then it's quite possible the stock can go to $100+. So we'll see where the future leads us. I mean, I don't think Intel is gonna allow AMD, like, they're gonna cheat somehow. I just have a feeling they're gonna find a way to cheat AMD out of the server market, so that's a risk factor. So because Intel's aggressive and they don't like sharing, they just want everything for themselves. So we'll see what happens in the future. That is a risk factor that could drop the stock, so be careful. And another fact that we are kind of in a tech bubble right now because of Apple being $1 trillion and Amazon being $1 trillion. So be careful. That's another also scary factor. I'm gonna end the video off of T-God. So some people were saying on my comment chat yesterday, they don't think Aurora has like a deal in works with, you know, a big company for investment. I disagree, because like, think about it, right? When this news came out, Aurora could, I mean, at the same time the debt deal came out, Aurora could have just been like, screw it, let's just invest into T-God. Let's just use the debt money that we got from the bank, and let's just throw it into T-God right now, and you know, use that debt money to buy 8% of T-God. No, they wanted to extend the time because they are working on a deal. They are talking to people, and they want to make sure that, you know, like, they don't want to lose an opportunity to buy T-God at a good price. So they are talking to people, and they're trying to find investment funds so then they can use that money to increase their stake in T-God. You guys can like argue with me, say no, that's stupid, I'm an idiot. Like, you could just argue with me, like, tell me in the comments why you believe that what I believe is false. I mean, why can't they just buy them now? Why do they have to wait until October 12th, 2018? Because they're working on a deal. They're working on a deal with somebody to increase the stake in, and that person that making the deal with, they probably also want T-God. So that's why they went to T-God and asked them to extend the time, and T-God said yes, because they need Aurora. Because without Aurora, like, let's say if Aurora just suddenly bailed out of the stock, they just sold all the shares right now, this stock would tank back to like $3. So I think they need Aurora big time. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, please give me a thumbs down. Subscribe for future updates, and have a great day. Bye.